Hey Zane, it's Chris again, and we're back to talk about Action Phase 1. So take it away.
My favourite of all the action phases, Action Phase 1. We start Action Phase 1 with a quick sit rep. So you'll gather around the table and your map facilitator will tell you about updates and changes on the map, including any crisis cards that have suddenly appeared whilst you've been away from the table, so maybe an oil spill in the Gulf of Guinea, some terrorism in Angola, or whatever else happens to be. It's also a chance to have a look around and realise that these crazy radar blips have appeared next to some cards, and have a think about what's going on. Also in this phase, the map facilitator will put an initiative order up, pulling randomly from a bag and placing them along here. If you are late to the table, you will automatically be put at the end, apart from aliens, who you always get to jump to the front of the queue. Then, once we've done that, we play the influence game. So you will find a pot of little tokens with your flags on. You get a number of these equal to how much the amount you paid last turn. So down here, Chris, you'll see a 0, 1, 3 and 5, which unlocks some influence tokens.
Okay, so if I last turn I paid 3 mega credits, I'd get 4 tokens this turn.
Yes, so during your budget bit you paid 3, you'd get 4. Let's pretend I did the same.
Okay. And then I place them on the map.
And then in initiative order...
Oh, I'm going too fast.
Yeah.
Who goes first, you or me?
It's me this time.
Oh, okay, you go first then.
I go first, so I'm actually going to place 2 in here.
And these are obviously placed in non-played countries, is that right?
Yes, sorry, yeah. Only placed in non-played countries. So these represent, Chris, you sort of using your soft power and other things to influence these countries, have sort of chats with them, bribe them, trade deals, whatever it is, to make them your number one friend.
Okay.
Right, so once everyone's been, we do a very quick scan, and it is majority wins. So here in Mali, South Africa wins, and then we remove all tokens apart from 1, and that final 1 token is placed in the little circle in the middle.
So that shows they now have an alliance with that country.
That's right. So if someone's got a token over that middle one, they are aligned with that country. In a case where we both have the same amount, we both lose and we both remove our tokens. And then this one, I win and you move away.
I lost. Yeah.
There is another case where if you're already aligned, the person trying to dislodge you needs more than you. So in this case, if we had equal amounts, Algeria would remain in alliance with the country. You would have to place 1 more to dislodge them.
And in this particular sub-phase with the alliances, going second in the initiative order is better, is that right?
It can be. It depends what you're doing. Sort of.
But let's say I wanted to dislodge you from Niger there.
Yes. Then if I wanted to definitely hold it, I would have had to decide. I wanted to put some more in to make it less appealing. Leaving 1 in would have been, not inviting people to kick me out, because you still need to spend 2 of a total of your maximum would have been 6 that you could have got. So it's a fair chunk of influence needed to dislodge someone.
Okay.
And that is our influence phase. And then we jump over to interception. So this is where you get your SIFs. Now your SIFs should have been on your runway. I should have mentioned earlier, only SIFs that are on a runway circle can be deployed at this point. If they're in the hangar bay, they cannot be deployed. They must be on the runway. And as you see, there's only 3 slots, Chris. So your SIF launch areas can actually only operate 3 SIFs.
Can I get more SIF mats in the future, or is it only limited to 3?
If you talk to the corporations, some of them will be able to sort you something out. But, you're probably better off getting some more SIFs before you worry about that.
I look forward to those chats.
So then, again, in initiative order, but as quick as possible, place your SIFs where they are. Unsurprisingly, I think I'm probably going to place the one over Algeria, try and deal with that. To intercept, you place your unit right up against the one you're intercepting. So in this case over here, there are two radar contacts. You need to choose which one you're intercepting. And we can talk and agree. So Chris, I'm like, please, like, come and help me, because I really don't want whatever this is taking out or doing stuff in my country. Please, 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 will you help me? And I'm sure
so so if we were, say, at war and then you still had an alien and you didn't want me to help you and I still came along, is that viable? Can I do that?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. And if in that sort of process, I could actually choose to attack you instead of the UFO?
You can, yep. So you would line it up sort of like that.
Okay.
So you're intercepting an interceptor at that point. So
okay.
And then we get into the intercepting an interceptor and enter the film Inception. In this version, we'll just keep it simple for the minute and just have one-on-one. So their next stages, once everyone's placed it, is we flip the radar contacts to reveal what's underneath. These aren't flippable, but they're hidden, so we just move. Do you want me to move? Oh, there's no one hidden under yours anymore, Chris. We've lost it. Hang on. I'm going to put a small one over there. How embarrassing.
Okay. That's all right. These UFOs are very slippery.
They are. So, oh look, you've revealed a small UFO. Let's go and deal with this one. So I'm going to take these two units down to my pre-prepared combat area. Look at this down here, Chris.
Very nice.
So we resolve these around the map yourselves without facilitator help unless needed. First couple of rounds, obviously, you might want a little bit more help, but once you get into the flow of the game, you should be resolving these very quickly. If the owner of the UFO isn't there, then we have to resolve them without them. Be warned that the UFO people might have action cards to play at this point. So the attacker is the one that was the one touching the outside. So in most of these cases, the SIF will generally always be the attacker and the UFO the defender. So in this case, we have South Africa with the small UFO defending. Let's use this example. You draw 2 resolution cards. They have a back with the chess pieces on, 1 per unit involved. So the attacker, you draw 1, defender, you draw 1. We then go down and look at the unit type. So all the air unit types are down the middle row. So this is a SIF. And then we look, if it's an attacker, across to the attacker side. So under the attacker, it is inflicting 1 point of damage. So it's firing on. Pew, 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 pew. My favourite bit, Chris. Pew. Shooting at and hitting the small UFO. And now the small UFO, we go down until we find a little symbol of a UFO and small. And then we look at what it's doing on the defender side. And a little X in a white box means it's doing nothing.
Oh dear.
Oh dear. We then mark 1 point of damage. Oh, it only has 1 little bit of damage. Oh, it's dead. You've blown up a small UFO. You've defended your territory from this
That's right.
horrible oppressor.
Exactly.
It depends who's writing the news. Now, so that's that.
So in this case, the UFO got blown out of the sky by the SIF, but obviously the UFO can inflict damage on the SIFs as well?
It can, yes. So if we look down here, you will see that there's a whole range of things depending on the type of UFO. So if this was a large UFO that you had intercepted, not a small one, it would have inflicted a point of damage. It would have still taken a point of damage, but it would have inflicted one. And if a SIF takes damage, it doesn't have hit points like UFOs, it's flipped over to its damaged side. So they are 2-sided tokens. On the other side has damaged. Ow. If a damaged SIF is damaged again, it is destroyed. So be careful with your damaged ones. You will notice on some of these cards there's double critical damage. So they can be hit and take 2 points of damage. The yellow symbol means evade. So had this been a large UFO, it would have evaded, dodged out the way like some ninja and got away from the hit, but it also disengaged from its action. So it would be sent home back to wherever these UFOs are coming from.
Okay, so if they get an evade, even if I manage to hit them, they've evaded my hit, and then it flies away back off to its mothership.
Yes, or wherever they come from. Mars,
Sure.
million to one.
Under the ocean, wherever.
Yeah. And that's how we resolve them. We'll go around, do all of your interceptions as quickly as possible. Got to keep the map sort of moving fairly rapidly. So,
And I don't have to wait for a facilitator to help me. I can just pull these cards from the deck myself.
yes, you need the defender there, preferably. If the defender and the owner of the UFO is not there and not available, then you can let the facilitator know, and the facilitator will either act as the defender or tell you to resolve it. There's a lot of trust in this game. You know, if you wanted to cheat, it's quite easy to cheat, but please don't, because the game is about having fun together, and cheating's not really going to help anyone.
No, absolutely.
And that's how you resolve those. The other beautifully important thing is if you had blown that small UFO up, like in that example, you would drop one of these shiny gems, which would be randomly drawn. So there's a few different colours. The facilitator should randomly draw, or tell you which box to randomly draw for, or probably bag to draw for, and you place it in the country. You'll also notice there are these little cards with missions written on, which you cannot look at unless you've got a way of looking at it. But if you've destroyed the UFO, the mission card and the UFO go away, and please do not look at the mission card. You've destroyed the UFO, you have no idea what it was trying to do. Now,
And just to go back to the Sif for a second, so say my Sif has been damaged in this turn, what happens then?
well, once all Sith interceptions, whether they're damaged or not damaged, are returned to your hangar bay. So if yours was damaged, it would return to your hangar bay on the damaged side. Clearly, my Algerian Siths are better and return undamaged, and they go into the hangar bay. You will see in
So
phase 2, you get to choose whether to put them on the runway or repair them. But
Okay.
we'll go into that in the section about phase 2.
All right.
And then, shall we hit movement?
Yes.
Done all our interceptions, we now have movement. So as I said earlier, there are sort of 3 types of unit, I guess. There are all your army units. Oh, I haven't put any of mine out. I have no army.
I can do South Africa. I'm down the bottom. I've got a lot of units deployed.
Okay. I'll bring some of my troops down close, just to get ready for a non-war honest. There we go. So there are land units, so modern tech, militia, and there are sea units. Sea units cannot move onto land. You know, it's not easy to drive a boat onto land. I've tried. It's really hard. You don't get very far. And land units. Land units can move 2 territories, Chris. So 2
Okay.
of these funny shaped boxes.
All right then. So my modern tech is going to move into Zimbabwe and then to Mozambique,
Yep.
followed by another modern. So I have 2 now in Mozambique. And then what happens if I move one of my modern techs into Botswana, which is a difficult terrain?
So difficult terrain, if you move into difficult terrain, you must end your movement immediately.
Okay.
You must also end your movement immediately if you move into a territory with an opposing unit.
Okay.
could
So
be
if I move
another-
from South Africa north and you're already here, I would stop here automatically.
Yes, you would, even if my
Okay.
initiative is lower than yours, unless I say, no worries, pass on through. So
Okay.
if you can't get me to allow you to go past, you have to stop.
And we're not negotiating the table. It's just a simple yes or no. I can
Yeah.
pass through.
Yeah, it needs to be quick. You will also find during the game that some of these countries might deploy their own units. They might be non-played ones, but they have feelings. So if you sit here in Mozambique with your army, they might get upset and their own army will appear. We'll have a nice
So
little...
obviously, with the alliance system, if I'm not allied with Mozambique and I've rolled my tanks into Mozambique, obviously there could be a response to that. Is what you're saying?
Yes, they might be upset. If you're allied with them, they're considered to have given you permission to come in. Clearly part of your alliance conversations were you saying, we're just going to do some military exercises, don't worry about it.
Yeah, so what you're saying is non-play countries don't like the idea of other people rolling tanks up on their lawns.
No, they do.
Okay, good.
And the other bit is that boats act as a single land as well. So this is
so say if my fleet was in the Skeleton Coast,
yep.
And I previously, last turn, I'd moved into Nambia. So then this turn, what you're saying is I can move my fleet by going... Sorry, I can move my units by jumping onto my fleet?
Yep, and then off on any adjacent land.
So I'm gonna stay within the Skeleton Coast. I'm going to go up here to the DRC.
Yeah. And some really astute people watching this would have said that was as quick as you walking.
Yes, I know. I was just thinking that. But obviously,
there are places like the Gulf of Guinea where actually that advantage is massive. So if you're in the Gulf of Guinea and you're in the Congo, you could move onto your ship and then off in any one of these territories.
Excellent. And I can. How many units? How many land units can I move through a fleet like this?
Unlimited. A fleet can carry all of your units. A fleet represents a huge amount of ships and other bits and bobs.
Okay, and then I think there's also another way of moving land units onto fleets, isn't there?
Let's have a quick look at what fleet movements do. So fleets can move any ocean territory in the same region. So on a single turn, they haven't got a 2-stop turn, they can move anywhere. So your fleet can go all the way up and round to anywhere. You can also go and move onto another regional map.
Okay, so I could go from the Cape of Africa in the south all the way up to the Barbary Coast in the north.
Yes.
And that's a perfectly legitimate move for my fleet.
And you can move units onto your fleet and then move the fleet. So you can move all of these lovely militia on to your fleet.
And if I move them onto the fleet, I have to leave them on the fleet. Is that right?
Yes. So you can only embark and move the fleet, or move the fleet and disembark in the same turn. So you can move them all on and then move them up. You can't disembark on the same turn as you've moved the fleet.
I have to wait for the next turn.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
So that applies even if the units were all sat on their last turn. If you move the fleet, you can't disembark the same turn. Basically, you can't do crazy sneak attacks.
Okay, I have to wait a turn, basically, after the fleet's moved.
Go up there, and then I'm sure people will be really happy that you're sat with loads of militia.
They're Peace Corps, really. I don't know why you're worrying.
Yeah.
And I believe there's also a blockade action with fleets, is that correct?
So down here, let's say you've got your fleet, you move into here, I can move and place myself next to you and blockade. What that means is you cannot use your fleet as a land bridge. So you cannot now jump onto your fleet and across to Madagascar. I'm blockading. Okay. I'm sure you won't mind me doing that. I'm sure that's not an aggressive action at all.
And I had another question which I have just forgotten, but let's carry on.
That is the main bits. Next bits of movement after you've done those is you can move your civilian units. You've got Spec Ops and Researchers. Spec Ops and Researchers have access to all sorts of wonderful things like civilian aeroplane, charter planes, boats, and can be placed anywhere.
So they don't have any movement rules at all?
No movement rules at all. That includes going to ocean spaces, because I'm sure they can go on boats and subs. They can go on difficult terrains. They represent a smaller size, so the logistics of moving them around is as simple as buying them a plane ticket and sneaking them through customs.
Okay, and so in this instance I'm going to move my research team into Sudan.
Yep.
Which is topical at the moment, and also my covert ops team into Algeria, which I'm sure you won't mind.
No, not at all. And I'm moving my covert ops into Mali because there's a gem there.
And when I'm doing this with my covert ops on the map, when I'm moving them around, do I do it face up or face down?
You can do it face down so that people forget where you are. You can obviously leave it face up if you don't mind, but you're allowed to put them face down so that people aren't fully aware of whose covert ops they are.
Okay.
We'll talk about the covert ops stuff later because there are lots of fun things you can do with them. And your researchers as well might be looking for things, although your researchers might be quite useful as bargaining chips with the science teams.
Okay, so I can give my research research units to the science teams, and they can do things with them.
Yes, because they can use them in their research labs to research stuff.
Okay.
The research teams. I feel like I've said research a lot there.
But I can take them downstairs into the science area and talk to the science teams and hand them over.
Yeah, you can give
possibly
them
for a price.
To whichever minister it is that deals with the science and corporations as a bargaining chip.
Interior Minister, yeah.
Interior Minister. I was going to say that, but then I was worried that I was going to get it wrong. The Interior Minister to go and use it as a negotiating tool.
Okay.
Then let's do some combat.
Okay.
Let's do it land combat, because land combat and fleet combat is actually done exactly the same way. I don't like the odds of that, so I'm just going to even it out a bit and say,
okay,
there we are. I have an old tech and a modern tech, and you have two modern techs. Let's bring this down to my combat zone. Let me just clear the combat zone. In this, what initiative? I'm first, aren't I? So in initiative order, I get to decide whether I want to retreat or
and you get
stay
to decide
and attack.
because you're higher initiative.
Yes. So in this point, I can say, do I want to continue to attack? Do I want to retreat, or do I want to let you retreat? Clearly, there's a fight going on here, isn't there?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. We need to show what's going on. So I am not retreating, and I'm not going to let you retreat. So let us attack. So the next thing we do, we've agreed we're attacking, is we can play action cards up to the number of units we have.
And I do this face down or face up?
We play them originally face down, and then flip them, or just play them straight in front of us. We want to keep things quick, so just sort of play them.
Okay.
So I'm playing mine and you're playing yours. We then draw a resolution card, and I'll randomise this again with my special closed eye randomising technique.
We each pull our own card from the deck, is that right?
We do, yes. So we draw our own cards from the resolution decks. You'll see the resolution decks work for CIF combat, military combat, and the facilitators will use them to deal with crisis as well. Multi-purpose cards.
Wonderful.
We then add up the strength of each of our total units. So that's the little number underneath the sword. So I have an 8, and you have 10. I don't know what I was about to write then. Honest, I can write, Chris. 10. And then
Excellent.
add up any bonuses from your cards that add to your strength. So I've got base air support because I do have a military base and an allied military base in an adjacent territory. So I get a +2. My other card just adds damage. And you're
So you're
paying...
using illegal weapons there, saying
No,
they're wearing
fully
submunitions.
legal. Fully legal.
The UN will be hearing about this.
Oh, I think you'll find that they are fired under the UN Charter. You take that up with your foreign minister.
Sure, I will.
You've got no added pluses. In this case, we are both on a total of 10. We then have a look at our cards, and at the top here you will see that there's a sword symbol with attacker or defender. I choose the one with attacker. I get a lovely +1. Woohoo! And I should have chosen you a worse card.
Yeah, I've got a very good card there, haven't I?
You've got a +5, so that's a
Whoa.
nice big. I think
That's
that
a
might be
meaty
the
card.
biggest swing possible. But you get 15, and I'm on 11, which makes you the winner.
Hey.
So
And either South Africans would win out.
so the highest total strength becomes the winner. The loser must retreat. So I have to run away. Run away. We then work out damage. So you do damage to me equal to the number of units in the fight. You have 2. So I do my little... They're fire, not crown. 2 damage. You take 2 damage from me.
Okay. Because you have 2 units.
Because I have 2 units. Because I'm retreating, you do an additional 2 damage because you're the winner and force me out. And as I run away, I take another 2 damage.
Okay.
Because I was using perfectly legal equipment, I apply an extra 2 damage to you after combat.
Oh. Those illegal weapons really hurt.
They were quite vicious. So we actually, in this case, all take 4 damage. Oh, hang on.
Wait a minute. So if you do your damage, so how do you apply damage? So just do yours first.
Okay, do mine first. I get to then apply 4 damage to the units as I see fit. So in this case, I'm going to choose to give 2 to the old tech and 2 to the modern. So
Okay.
I could have obviously given all 4 to the modern tech and wiped it out, but as we said in the other video, once you lose an army, it's incredibly difficult or almost impossible within the realms of this game to get another army back. So
you've got to look after your armies, is what you're saying.
I'm spreading the damage out so that at the moment they're not going to die straight away.
Okay, and then when I find my damage, so at the moment I have 4 damage,
Yep.
but I have a card printable emplacements along my engineer, and that means I ignore 2 or absorb 2 to printable emplacements as a defender. So that means I have to apply 2 damage.
Yeah, so you absorb 2 because you've got these lovely printable emplacements. I'll
So
have
let's
a
do
word
1
with
to each.
whichever corporation sold you those. And
Let's do 1 damage to each, shall we?
Yeah, clearly you can do 1 to each or 2 to one of them.
Okay.
Then we pretend that all of that's fine. Move them back to the map because this would have all happened on the map, and I have to move to an adjacent territory. And you stay there. If it had been a draw, we'd have both stayed in that territory and had to do it all over again next turn. And been in an endless war. That is combat. Fleets fight in exactly the same way. So if you decided these 2 fleets wanted to fight, we'd resolve it exactly the same.
But with fleets, I can choose. There's such a big ocean space we're in. We can choose not to fight one another.
Yes,
we don't have to fight.
If neither of us said we attacked, then we don't have to.
Okay.
So even though I'm blockading you, you can choose not to actually attack me back.
Yeah, I think I'll give you a bloody nose. You'll think better in the future. It's fine. I won't attack you now.
How dare you get better cards than me? I should rig it next time. Quickly on that, you'll notice some of these cards are discarded after use. So my thermobaric submunitions and your printable emplacements are discarded. Engineers you keep, even though there's no symbol on them, and so do airbase support.
Okay, so I'm saying it back to my hand.
We throw those in a little discard pile. Don't throw it, please. Place nicely in a discard pile to the side, and the other ones go back in our hands.
Okay. And just to reconfirm, I can have as many cards in my hand as I like, but I can only play a certain number in a combat.
Yes, so you can only play equal to the number of units in your combat.
Okay.
The more units you have, the more damage you're going to do, the more cards you can play.
Okay.
That's that. You have a couple of special cards that are played in different sequences. So you have a drone strike, which allows you to target a military unit or a structure in the interception phase. So at the same time as you're doing your SIFs, you could play this and actually do a point of damage to a building or a military unit. So you could do a precision strike on a unit or a building. If you do it on a building, you place an orange cube on it. Bases have 4 hit points before they're destroyed. They also count as having 4 strength as well. So if someone attacks an area where you have a base, you also include your base's strength in that, and the base can also absorb some of the damage.
I'm sure if I were to play that card against you, that wouldn't cause a war or anything. So that's really good.
Yeah. That is combat. There's also lots of cards that do all sorts of other things, like get you out of dangerous situations, help you move faster, but talk to your corporations. I say your corporations as if they belong to you. Talk to the corporate teams, and they will have lots of action cards to help your game be more effective.
So as a military commander, I should tell my interior minister what I need, what I'm looking for, and they can go off and negotiate while I'm fighting and doing things on the map.
Yes. Yeah. Tell them to get you lots of nice cards.
All right.
Then final thing in this phase is specialists. So this is where we deal with the spec ops and research teams on the table. So
obviously we've moved them previously, so we're now going to do what they have decided to do when they get there.
Yeah. So again, in initiative order, unless it doesn't really matter, and in which case because there's no conflict in it, it doesn't matter. We can resolve these in any order. But
what if there was conflict? What if I was here with you?
Then we'd resolve it in initiative order. So highest initiative would get to attack the others. If they were successful, they would stop the other unit from doing whatever it's wanting. So in this case, I'm clearly here to try and get the gem. You would then roll. If you were successful in your roll, you would stop me getting the gem. If we're both here just to get the gem, the one with the highest initiative would get it.
There's nothing I could do to stop you.
Well, you can attack
if you had
me.
higher initiative than me.
If I've got higher initiative than you, you can attack me and stop me getting the gem.
Okay. In this case, I was never there, like a ghost.
So I would pick up this lovely gem and hope that I can use it to some good use with negotiating with the science teams or the corporations, or selling it to someone for more lovely action cards or something else. Then with this one, you're investigating.
I'm here to work out what the...
Sorry.
I'm here to investigate what the aliens are doing, what their mission card is.
I guess it's probably worth me letting people know roughly what they can do. It's in the rule book, but there's a sort of list of sort of standard or more simple covert operations, which include reconnaissance or investigation like this, starting crisis, removing alliance cubes, helping crisis, stealing things like technology and other secrets, attacking other operatives or resolving that, or any other cool idea that you can come up with. So these are a free-form sort of role-play tool that allow you to do things slightly outside the scope of the rules, but within the realms of the reality of the world. So in this one, you're investigating what these aliens are up to. You would roll 2d6. On a 7+, you're successful. But between 7 and 9, you're successful at a cost. So I'm rolling 2 dice for you here, Chris.
Okay.
That's the sound of them rolling. You've got an 8, so you're successful, but at a cost. You will be offered a standard cost, which is either they take a point of damage in the operation, or they leave some evidence that they were there. So it's your choice, Chris. Would you like to take a point of damage because investigating these aliens didn't go as well as you hoped, or do you want to leave some evidence behind that the Algeria might be able to find in the future?
I'd imagine covert ops don't have any health points, so they just die immediately.
They have 2.
They have 2. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And no, don't worry. I'm happy to tell Algeria I was there, so I'm happy to cause an international incident.
That's fine. You then get to secretly look at this card to see what the aliens were up to.
And you would be told by a facilitator that I was there.
Yes, yeah, Algeria, or, they may have looked and there is evidence, because sometimes you can see things in the game as a player, but actually you don't have any evidence. In this case, you would definitely also have some evidence to take to the UN or take to those players to say, I know your covert ops were here, please don't do it again.
I promise not to.
Or you may, share the information you found, and I don't mind. And then research teams can do sort of similar things. They can investigate unexplained phenomena, because other weird things might pop up on the map. Investigate sort of breaches in sanctions and nuclear, chemical, biological weapons, stuff like that on behalf of the UN. They can also help try and resolve crisis, oil spills and flu and pandemics. And they can also test scientific prototypes on the map, because they might want to do a real test of a prototype.
So say, for example, so in Sudan here, we've got the research team looking at what the aliens are up to.
Yeah.
What happens if I send a, oh no, that was one of yours. Assume this is an Angolan research team, an Angolan research team, and I'm coming in as South Africa. There you go, the way around, exactly, there you go.
Yeah.
So what would happen here?
They are two independent operations. Unless the covert ops is trying to stop the research team, they can both attempt to look at what they're doing.
Okay, and does it matter if does it have to be in initiative order if the covert ops is trying to stop the research team?
No, covert ops can try and stop can stop a research team. You'll also see they have a bonus. I meant to mention this earlier. So spec ops have a 2 added to their dice roll, whereas a research team have 0. So clearly earlier I rolled a 6 and added 2 to get you at 8.
Okay, no worries.
And that takes us to the end of Action Phase 1.
Fantastic. Okay, so
my second most favourite one in our next video.
Excellent. So we'll cover Action Phases 2 and 3 in the next video, and we hope to see you there. Thanks very much, Zane.
Thank you very much.